The quantum detection array at Luna Base hummed softly as Dr. Sarah Chen adjusted the final calibrations. After 15 years of scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, the array had finally picked up something extraordinary. A massive fleet of ships approaching the outer edges of our solar system. The ship's energy signatures were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, confirming what Sarah had long suspected. We were not alone. Dr. Chen, her assistant Michael Torres called from his station. The Security Council is assembled. They're waiting for your assessment. Sarah's dark eyes remained fixed on the holographic display showing the approaching fleet. Their formation was perfect, too perfect. As Earth's leading xenoanthropologist, she had spent years studying theoretical first contact scenarios. This approach pattern matched none of the peaceful contact protocols her team had developed. "Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes," she replied, her fingers dancing across the haptic interface. "And Michael, initiate Protocol Lighthouse." Michael's face paled. Protocol Lighthouse, named after humanity's ancient warning beacons, was reserved for potentially hostile first contact scenarios. "Are you sure?" Sarah nodded grimly. "Look at their approach vector. They're establishing perfect coverage of our orbital infrastructure. That's not diplomatic positioning. It's tactical superiority." Across Earth, hidden quantum servers began downloading copies of human knowledge, art, and scientific achievements into hardened underground facilities. If humanity was about to face its greatest challenge, their legacy would survive. The United Nations Security Council chamber was packed with representatives from every major nation when Sarah arrived. The tension in the room was palpable as she took her place at the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "Approximately 6 hours ago, our quantum detection array identified an approaching alien fleet. Based on their energy signatures and formation patterns, we are dealing with a highly advanced civilization we're designating as the Cronus Empire." The chamber erupted in whispers and exclamations. Sarah waited for them to quiet before continuing. "Their fleet consists of approximately 200 vessels, ranging in size from what appear to be escort crafts to capital ships larger than anything humanity has ever constructed. Their technology is centuries ahead of our public capabilities." The Chinese representative leaned forward. "You said public capabilities, Dr. Chen. What exactly does that mean?" Sarah shared a knowing look with General Maria Santos, the head of Earth's Combined Defense Force. For decades, humanity had been preparing for this moment, hiding their true technological advancement behind a facade of primitive space technology. "It means, Ambassador, that we have a decision to make. The Cronus fleet is broadcasting a message in all known human languages. They're demanding our immediate surrender and integration into their empire, promising to elevate us from our primitive state." The Russian delegate scoffed. "Surrender? To aliens who haven't even reached Earth yet?" "No," Sarah replied, allowing herself a small smile. "I suggest we give them a warning instead." General Santos stepped forward, activating a holographic display of Earth's hidden defensive capabilities. The chamber fell silent as they witnessed the true extent of humanity's preparation. Quantum weaponry disguised as communication satellites, antimatter facilities hidden in asteroid mines, and fleets of stealth ships waiting in the shadows of the outer planets. "For the past 50 years, Santos explained, every nation on Earth has contributed to Project Guardian. While we showed the world crude rockets and basic space stations, we were building something far more significant, a defensive network capable of protecting Earth from any threat, terrestrial or extraterrestrial." Sarah took control of the briefing again. "The Cronus Empire sees us as primitives to be conquered. They expect us to be awed by their technology, to surrender in the face of their superior might. They're about to learn that humanity doesn't bow to threats. We overcome them." She initiated a quantum transmission to the approaching fleet, her message clear and direct. "Attention Cronus Empire vessels. This is Dr. Sarah Chen of Earth's Combined Defense Force. We have monitored your approach and understood your demands. Before you proceed further, I strongly suggest you review the data package we're transmitting. It contains selected histories of what happened to the last entities that tried to subjugate humanity. This is not a plea for mercy. It's a professional courtesy, a warning from one spacefaring culture to another. The Cronus response was immediate, their translator struggling to convey their mixture of amusement and disdain. Your species hasn't even colonized its own solar system. What could you possibly teach the Eternal Empire about warfare? Sarah's reply was simple. Everything. And I truly hope we don't have to demonstrate it. As the transmission ended, Earth's hidden defenses quietly powered up, preparing for any possibility. Humanity had spent centuries fighting itself, developing strategies and technologies that would make even an advanced alien empire pause. If the Cronus Empire chose to ignore their warning, they would learn firsthand why humans were considered the most adaptable and innovative species in their own history. In the depths of space, the Cronus fleet continued their approach, unaware that they were about to face an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. An enemy that had turned their greatest weakness, their fractious nature and constant conflicts, into their greatest strength, the ability to survive and adapt against overwhelming odds. The first battle for Earth's future was about to begin, and humanity was ready. The Cronus Empire struck at dawn Universal Time, exactly when Dr. Sarah Chen predicted they would. Their crystalline ships descended from high orbit in perfect formation, targeting what they believed to be Earth's major military installations. The Empire's sensors had detected primitive missile silos, radar installations, and command centers, all carefully crafted decoys created over decades of preparation. In the Cheyenne Mountain complex, now transformed into a quantum command center, Sarah stood beside General Santos, watching the holographic display of the attack unfold. "Confirm all targets are taking the bait," Santos ordered, her voice steady despite the tension. Lieutenant Commander Jack Harper's fingers danced across the neural interface. "Confirmed, General. Operation Paper Tiger is successful. They're hitting empty bunkers and holographic projections." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Execute Operation Poseidon." Across Earth's oceans, what appeared to be ordinary shipping containers sitting on the seafloor suddenly activated. These were humanity's hidden trump cards, quantum displacement devices that could alter the very fabric of space-time. The Cronus Empire had dismissed humanity's quantum research as theoretical, never imagining that Earth had mastered practical applications decades ago. The first sign that something was wrong came when the Empire's primary battle group attempted to establish orbital superiority over North America. Their shields, designed to repel energy weapons and kinetic impacts, suddenly failed as the space around their ships twisted and warped. 3 capital ships, each the size of a small city, found themselves occupying the same space-time coordinates as their own escort vessels. "Multiple confirmed hits," Harper reported, struggling to keep his voice professional as the Empire's ships tore themselves apart. Enemy fleet showing signs of disarray. The Cronus response was predictable. They fell back on standard Imperial doctrine, forming a defensive sphere while charging their main weapons. It would have been an excellent strategy against a conventional force, but humanity wasn't fighting conventionally. "Launch Operation Artemis," General Santos commanded. From bases hidden in the asteroid belt, hundreds of small, autonomous drones activated. Each one was barely larger than a coffee can, powered by miniaturized fusion cores, technology the Empire had dismissed as beyond humanity's capabilities. The swarm approached the Cronus fleet, appearing on their sensors as mere debris. By the time they realized their mistake, it was too late. The drones attached themselves to the crystalline hulls and began their work, using quantum tunneling charges to bypass shields entirely. Complex alien systems, hardened against every known form of attack, proved vulnerable to the simplest solution: physical sabotage at the quantum level. "High-energy spike detected," Harper called out. "Their flagship is charging something massive." Sarah studied the tactical display. The Empire's command ship, a behemoth that dwarfed everything else in their fleet, was indeed powering up its main gun, a weapon designed to crack planets. "Right on schedule," she murmured. "Commander Patel, you have a green light." Hidden in the dark side of Mars, Earth's first stealth fleet decloaked. Led by Commander Priya Patel, the ships were ugly, asymmetrical things that looked more like floating scrapyards than proper warships. The Empire's sensors struggled to lock onto them, their hulls covered in metamaterials that absorbed or redirected scanning beams. The stealth fleet's first volley wasn't fancy, just good old-fashioned nuclear torpedoes wrapped in quantum field generators. The Empire's sensors never saw them coming. The flagship's charging sequence was interrupted rather spectacularly as multiple warheads detonated against its hull, the massive ship's crystalline structure fracturing under the combined effects of nuclear fire and quantum field disruption. "Enemy fleet is breaking formation," Harper reported, pride evident in his voice. "Multiple ships attempting emergency FTL jumps." "Correction," Sarah said quietly. "They're attempting to jump." She keyed her neural link. "Execute final phase." The quantum displacement network, now fully powered, activated in a carefully choreographed sequence. Space itself twisted around the Cronus ships, preventing their escape while limiting collateral damage to the solar system. In less than 30 minutes, the mighty Cronus Empire's invasion force was reduced to scattered groups of crippled vessels, trapped in localized space-time distortions. Sarah opened a channel to all surviving Cronus vessels. "This was our first response. We have dozens of strategies you haven't seen yet, weapons you haven't encountered, and tactics you can't predict. Are you ready to discuss actual peaceful contact, or should we continue your education in human warfare?" The response took several minutes to arrive. When it did, it was short. "The Empire requests a cessation of hostilities to discuss terms." General Santos turned to Sarah, her expression grim but satisfied. "You predicted they'd break after the quantum displacement demonstration." Sarah nodded, watching the holographic display of crippled alien ships. "The Empire built its power on technological superiority. We just showed them that their technology isn't as superior as they thought. More importantly, we demonstrated something they've never encountered before, a species that deliberately hid its true capabilities, that planned and prepared for centuries just for this possibility." In orbit above Earth, the wreckage of the Empire's finest ships drifted silently, a testament to the folly of underestimating humanity's capacity for both innovation and warfare. But for Sarah, the real work was just beginning. The Empire had lost this battle, but she knew they wouldn't accept defeat easily. Humanity had revealed some of its capabilities, but not all of them. They would need every advantage for what was coming next. Commander David Okafor stood on the bridge of the ESS Shadowhunter, his dark eyes fixed on the tactical display. The stealth vessel drifted silently through Saturn's rings, its hull coated in smart matter camouflage that perfectly mimicked the surrounding ice and rock. 20 years of submarine warfare experience had taught him one crucial lesson. In space, just like in the depths of Earth's oceans, silence meant survival. "Contact," his sensor officer, Lieutenant Anna Volkov, whispered unnecessarily. Their neural links would have worked fine, but old habits died hard. Cronus supply convoy bearing 047 Mark 015. 8 cargo vessels, 3 escorts. David allowed himself a small smile. 2 months after their failed invasion, the Empire was still running their supply lines on predictable routes. They hadn't learned that humans had perfected the art of commerce raiding over centuries of naval warfare. He switched to fleet channels. "Ghost Fleet, this is Shadow Actual. Execute Operation Prometheus." Across the Saturnian system, 15 other stealth vessels acknowledged with single clicks. No radio transmissions, no quantum bursts, nothing that could give away their position. The ships, painted in next-generation Vantablack, were practically invisible against the backdrop of space. "Time to remind them why humans were called pirates and wolves throughout our history," David murmured. He'd studied ancient naval tactics extensively, updating wolfpack strategies for 3-dimensional space warfare. "All hands, battle stations, silent running. The Shadowhunter's reactor dimmed to barely a whisper, its heat dispersed through superconducting radiators designed to mimic the background temperature of space. They were running on momentum now, their course plotted through Saturn's complex gravitational field with precision that would have made Newton proud. The first Cronus ship died without ever knowing what hit it. The Shadowhunter's main gun, a modified mining laser that used quantum tunneling to bypass shields, cut through the escort vessel's crystalline hull like a hot knife through butter. The Empire had never considered that humans would weaponize industrial equipment. First blood confirmed, Volkov reported. Enemy escorts breaking formation, attempting to locate us. David watched as the remaining Cronus ships formed a defensive sphere, a textbook response that might have worked against a conventional attack. But Ghost Fleet wasn't conventional. Execute Phase 2, he ordered. From their hiding places among Saturn's smaller moons, the rest of Ghost Fleet struck. Each ship approached from a different vector, using the gas giant's massive radiation belts to mask their signatures. Humanity had learned to turn the harsh Saturnian environment into their ally. The Cronus cargo vessels never stood a chance. Their escorts, designed to defend against full-sized warships, couldn't track the smaller, stealthier human vessels. One by one, the supply ships were disabled with surgical precision. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen called out, detecting quantum transmission bursts from the cargo holds. "They're calling for reinforcements." David nodded. "Right on schedule. Deploy the quantum buoys." Dozens of small devices, each no bigger than a basketball, launched from the Ghost Fleet ships. They formed a complex network around the engagement zone, creating a quantum interference field that scrambled the Cronus distress calls into gibberish. A message flashed across David's neural link from Dr. Sarah Chen back on Earth. "Operation Prometheus is greenlit for Phase 3. "Perfect." David opened the fleet channel again. "All ships, prepare for boarding operations. Remember, we're not just pirates. We're their worst nightmare. We're going to take their ships, learn their technology, and use it against them." As his crews began boarding the disabled Cronus vessels, David reflected on how far humanity had come. The Empire had expected a primitive species with primitive tactics. Instead, they'd found an enemy that turned their own technology against them, that struck from shadows they didn't even know existed. "Sir," Chen reported, "you're going to want to see this." The cargo manifests. These ships were carrying quantum core components, enough to power their entire fleet in this sector. David's grin turned predatory. "Send word to Dr. Chen. Tell her Christmas came early." He paused, watching his crews efficiently strip the Cronus ships of anything valuable, and prepare a message buoy for the Empire's command. "Keep it simple. The void is deep and dark, and we own the darkness." Back on Earth, Sarah Chen reviewed the quantum-encrypted transmission from Ghost Fleet with growing excitement. The Cronus Empire had made another critical mistake. They'd assumed that humans would fight like a conventional military force. Instead, they were facing an enemy that combined millennia of guerrilla warfare experience with cutting-edge technology. "How many ships has Commander Okuffer's fleet disabled?" General Santos asked, studying the holographic battle reports. 27 supply convoys in the past month," Sarah replied. "More importantly, we've captured enough of their quantum core technology to begin reverse engineering their FTL drives. The Empire thought they could contain us in our solar system. Instead, they've given us the keys to the stars." But even as Ghost Fleet celebrated their victories in the shadows of Saturn, a new threat was emerging. The Empire, stunned by their losses, was adapting. Their supply ships were becoming more random in their routes, their escorts more numerous. They were learning. "Let them adapt," David transmitted to Earth Command. "Humans wrote the book on asymmetric warfare. For every tactic they counter, we'll develop 3 more. They wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy. Instead, they're about to learn why humanity never stopped preparing for war even in times of peace." In the rings of Saturn, Ghost Fleet melted back into the darkness, leaving behind only disabled ships and shattered imperial pride as testament to their passing. The next phase of the war was about to begin, and humanity was ready to take the fight beyond their solar system. Dr. Maya Patel sat cross-legged in her command chair at the Global Cyber Defense Operations Center, surrounded by cascading holographic displays of Cronus data traffic. At 32, she was the youngest person ever to hold the position of Chief Information Warfare Officer, and now humanity's digital future rested on her shoulders. "You're saying their entire fleet runs on quantum neural networks?" she asked, studying the intercepted alien code while her fingers danced across haptic interfaces. Dr. Sarah Chen's hologram nodded from the secure quantum link. "Their AI systems are decades ahead of ours in raw processing power, but they've never had to deal with human chaos theory," Maya finished, a mischievous glint in her eyes. 3 months earlier, she had made an astounding discovery. Cronus systems had a peculiar vulnerability to certain types of Earth data patterns, particularly those that defied logical prediction. "Show me what you found," Sarah requested. Maya gestured, expanding a section of code. "Look at their network architecture. It's beautiful, perfect even. Every system interconnected, every process optimized. But that's their weakness. They've never had to defend against human-style cyber attacks." The displays around her showed the results of her team's latest offensive. While Ghost Fleet harassed the Empire's supply lines, Maya's digital warriors had been launching their own attacks. They'd discovered that introducing certain types of chaotic data, everything from classical music to abstract art, into Cronus networks caused their systems to struggle with processing the inherent irregularities. "Their quantum AIs expect patterns, logic, order," Maya explained. "We're feeding them jazz improvisation, Jackson Pollock paintings, and quantum probability distributions. It's like giving a computer a paradox. They can't help but try to solve it, and it ties up their processing power." Lieutenant Raj Sharma, her chief cryptanalyst, appeared in another holographic window. "Dr. Patel, you need to see this. We just decoded a new segment of their command protocols." The data materialized in front of them, a complete map of the Empire's quantum communication network. Maya's eyes widened as she realized what they were seeing. They're networked. All of them. Every ship, every base, every quantum core. They're all connected in real time across their entire empire. "Is that significant?" Sarah asked. Maya's smile was predatory. "It's everything. They built their entire civilization on the assumption that quantum networks are unhackable. They never considered that someone might find a way to use that connectivity against them." She pulled up another display, showing the results of their latest cyber offensive. "We've been testing different attack vectors, seeing how their systems respond. Watch what happens when we introduce this into their network." The display showed a simple sequence, a mathematical proof that contained an intentional paradox, wrapped in quantum encryption that made it look like routine Empire traffic. When introduced into their network, it caused cascading errors as their AIs tried to resolve the unsolvable problem. "Their ship's quantum cores are connected to this network?" Sarah asked, beginning to understand. "Everything is," Maya confirmed. "And that's not all. Remember those quantum core components Ghost Fleet captured? We've been studying them. The Empire uses quantum entanglement for instant communication across their territory, but they need precise timing to maintain synchronization. If we could disrupt that timing, we could blind their entire fleet," Sarah finished. "How long do you need?" Maya's fingers flew across her interfaces, making calculations. "The attack code is ready. We've been testing it in simulation, but we need a way to insert it into their primary network nodes. Their quantum encryption is still unbreakable. We need physical access." Sarah's hologram smiled. "I think Commander Okafor's Ghost Fleet might be able to help with that. How many nodes do you need to compromise?" 3. Their network has redundancies, but if we can hit 3 major nodes simultaneously, the cascade effect should do the rest. What followed was the most ambitious operation of the war so far. While Ghost Fleet launched a series of diversionary attacks in the outer solar system, 3 elite teams of cyber commandos struck at their real targets, Cronus communication bases hidden in the asteroid belt. Maya watched from her command center as the operation unfolded. The teams moved with precision, using stealth technology and quantum disruption devices to penetrate the base's defenses. One by one, they reached their objectives, the quantum network nodes that connected the Empire's local forces to their main civilization. Teams in position, Raj reported, ready for code injection. Maya took a deep breath. They would only get one chance at this. Execute Operation Logic Bomb. The attack was elegant in its simplicity. Into each node, they inserted their paradox code, wrapped in layers of quantum encryption that made it look like priority traffic from Empire High Command. The code spread through the network at quantum speeds, impossible to stop once it began. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the solar system, chronoships suddenly lost contact with their network. Their quantum cores, dependent on precise timing from the network, began to fluctuate. Weapon systems went offline as their targeting computers tried to resolve impossible calculations. Network cascade confirmed, Raj announced, his voice tense with excitement. Empire communications are degrading system-wide. Their ships are going dark. Maya allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before turning to the next phase. Begin broadcast on all frequencies, both standard and quantum bands. Across the void of space, every Cronus ship received the same message. Your network has been compromised. Your quantum cores are desynchronizing. Your ships are blind. This is what happens when you underestimate human ingenuity. Stand down, or we'll show you what else we can do with your own technology. In the silence that followed, Maya reflected on the irony. The Empire had thought humans primitive because they hadn't mastered quantum computing. They never considered that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to think outside the perfect, logical patterns that the Empire relied upon. Dr. Chen, she transmitted to Earth Command, the digital battlefield is secure. Ghost Fleet can begin Phase 5 whenever they're ready. The war wasn't over. The Empire was too vast, too powerful to be defeated by one attack. But they had proven something crucial. Humanity's chaotic, innovative nature wasn't a weakness to be corrected. It was a weapon that even the most advanced alien civilization hadn't been prepared to face. The crystalline spires of the Cronus Empire's diplomatic vessel gleamed in Earth's orbit as Dr. Sarah Chen prepared for the most important meeting in human history. After 6 months of warfare that had shattered the Empire's illusions of superiority, they had finally requested peace talks, not as conquerors, but as equals. Their delegation is ready to transport down, General Santos reported, adjusting her dress uniform. Are you sure about this location? Sarah nodded, looking around the United Nations General Assembly Hall. Absolutely. They need to understand who they're really dealing with. The Cronus delegation materialized in a shimmer of quantum energy, tall, crystalline beings whose forms seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury. Their leader, High Commander Xerxes, towered 3 meters tall, his crystalline form refracting sunlight into rainbow patterns across the chamber. Dr. Chen. Xerxes' translated voice resonated through the hall. Your species continues to surprise us. We expected to meet in a military facility. This is where humanity makes its most important decisions, Sarah replied. Not through force, but through dialogue and understanding, even when we disagree. The Empire's initial invasion force had been neutralized, their supply lines disrupted by Ghost Fleet, and their communications network compromised by Maya's cyber warfare team. But Sarah knew the Empire could still bring overwhelming force to bear if they chose. The question was, had they learned enough to choose differently? You have accomplished what no other species has managed in 10,000 years, Xerxes stated. You have forced the eternal Empire to reconsider its assumptions. We wish to understand how. Sarah gestured, and holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing Earth's history, not just the wars and conflicts the Empire had already seen, but the art, music, scientific achievements, and countless small acts of cooperation that had allowed humanity to progress. Your empire built itself on perfection, Sarah explained. Every system optimized, every process refined to its peak. But humanity built itself on adaptation. We never stopped changing, never stopped questioning, never stopped trying new approaches, even when they seemed illogical. Commander David Okuffer's hologram appeared, transmitted from the Shadowhunter in Saturn's rings. We turned our greatest weakness, our division and constant conflict, into our greatest strength. Every war taught us new lessons, forced us to innovate. Dr. Maya Patel joined from her Cyber Command Center. You built perfect systems. We learned to break them, then rebuild them better. Your quantum networks were flawless until they encountered human chaos theory. And yet, Xerxes observed, when we expected primitives focused only on warfare, we find this. He gestured at the UN chamber, a place of peace and cooperation. Sarah smiled. That's what you really fail to understand about us. Humanity doesn't just excel at warfare. We excel at everything we put our minds to. War, peace, art, science, they're all expressions of the same human drive to explore, to understand, to grow. She brought up new displays, showing humanity's plans for the future. Designs for deep space exploration vessels, blueprints for peaceful applications of the quantum technology they'd captured, proposals for joint scientific ventures. We're offering you a choice, Sarah continued. The Empire can either face an endless war against an enemy that will never stop adapting, never stop finding new ways to fight, or you can gain allies who will help you see the universe in ways your perfect systems never imagined. Xerxes was silent for a long moment, his crystalline form shifting through complex patterns that the xenobiologists would later identify as deep contemplation. In all our history, he finally said, we have never encountered a species that could match our military might. Yet you did not use your victory to demand our surrender. Instead, you offer cooperation. Because that's what humans do, Sarah replied. We fight when we must, but we always look for the chance to turn enemies into friends. It's another kind of adaptation. The peace treaty it followed would reshape the galaxy. The Cronus Empire, for the first time in its history, accepted another species as true equals. Human innovation and creativity would merge with Cronus precision and stability, creating technologies neither species could have developed alone. Commander Okeffer's Ghost Fleet would become the model for a new kind of joint military force, one that protected trade routes instead of raiding them. Dr. Patel's cyber warfare techniques would revolutionize quantum computing across the Empire, introducing controlled chaos to create more resilient systems. And Dr. Sarah Chen would lead the first joint human-Cronus exploration mission into uncharted space, proving that humanity's greatest strength wasn't just its ability to win wars, but its capacity to forge peace from the ashes of conflict. As the Cronus delegation prepared to depart, Xerxes turned to Sarah one last time. We came to elevate a primitive species, he said, his translator conveying what might have been amusement. Instead, you have elevated us. Sarah watched the crystalline ships depart Earth orbit, no longer as conquerors or enemies, but as partners in humanity's greatest adventure. The stars beckoned, and for the first time, humanity would explore them not alone, but with allies who had learned to value the very chaos they once sought to suppress. The war was over. The real adventure was just beginning.